Hi, welcome to Makerspace Dev Team first video. We'll start by first moving into Makerspace GitHub repository as shown on the browser. It's at github.com/igniterspace. The application we are going to edit today and deploy is the Makerspaces management system, which is under the key Makerspaces on our repo. So click on that. You will see the code um, of the product here. Most importantly, you will see a file called readme, which has all of the instructions needed to set up the application. So you may see we need Node.js runtime, npm package manager, and Git command line tools, Google Cloud CLI, Angular for CLI, and local MySQL server um, to deploy our application uh, on this machine for development. To verify if we have all of the necessary setup, you can open a command line prompt either on Windows or Mac or Linux and check for the version information of each of these dependencies. So as you can see, if you can get the version information displayed, um, basically it tells that your um, prerequisite installation of these tools are in working condition. All right. So all of the prerequisites installed, we now move into the next section where we will clone the Git repository um, from our GitHub uh, account. It might actually be a good idea without cloning the um, master repository onto your local machine. You actually can create a clone into um, one of your other GitHub accounts, one of your own GitHub accounts. Um, Let me show how you do that. We visit to GitHub, and then you can do a fork. And when you do a fork, you will see it will create a copy of the Igniterspace Makerspace into your uh, own GitHub account. Now I think since we have access rights, to read and write onto our own GitHub account, it will actually be easier to um, clone and do the deployment from this one. So now I am going to um, do a clone onto my local machine. Let me first figure out the location I am in. Maybe I should move into a um, different folder. And it's going to take some time um, to fetch all of the objects from the GitHub repo and create a local repo on my machine. Yeah, it's done. So you will see now under the demo folder we have Makerspaces folder, which is our source repository. I can open this with my editor. Um, in my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code. So the demo Makerspaces. Open. Now you can see all the files copied onto the local machine so that we can begin development. Before getting into development, um, let's set up um, this on a local machine so that we can run and see the results of the of our code changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into new new folder to which I cloned the Git account. I can just have a look at the files there. So the best way to move forward is always to follow the um, README guide, uh, which is in the GitHub repo. So I am done with this step, which is cloning, and then I need to move into the Makerspaces folder and do an npm install there. So it's going to fetch all of the dependencies because dependencies are not stored in the Git repo. So it will fetch the dependencies and store it in a local folder so that we can use them. It's going to take some time until that happens. We can move ahead and set up the database. So I'm going to open a new command prompt. Um, as you can see, you will need to start your MySQL server. So this is how you would do it on the command prompt on Mac. It might be different on Windows. Uh, it, you can easily find out the details of how to start it by Googling it. You can also use the UI, MySQL UI, to start and stop the server. So this is the MySQL command prompt, MySQL UI, admin UI. So I can start my SQL server here. It will ask for my local machine admin credentials. Looks like my machine is under a bit of a stress. Okay, I got the MySQL server running, and now I can connect to MySQL server local machine using using MySQL command line tools. So it will ask for the root password uh, of your MySQL local installation. This is something you will specify when you install MySQL. Okay, I'm connected to my local MySQL server. Now I can um, go and see my databases, for example. Okay, in your case, if you're doing it for the first time, you will not have the Makerspaces database, but I have it because I had done it before, but I'm going to drop it. All right. Now, if I uh, check the databases, you will see I don't have a Makerspace database. Right. Now, MySQL local server is ready. Now we are going to set up and create the database we need and insert sample data. To do that, you need to ensure the server config file contains the correct password of your local MySQL instance. So you can find the server config file on the root directory. It's this one. When you open the file, scroll down and you will see here MySQL password. This is a MySQL password of your local MySQL instance. So you need to set it up correctly if it is not um, R00T in your case. Once that's done, we can simply create the database with this particular command npm run db create and then insert sample data with npm run db sample. So I'm going to run npm run db create. My npm dependencies are still installing, so I'm going to open a new terminal window. ensure you are in the root folder of your source code, which is Makerspaces, when you run these commands. So I'm calling npm run db create, which will ask for the credentials from me. Okay, seems like I have a issue in the code. I think I know what the issue is. Um, Let me quickly fix this one. It's in db create. Because I had a sample model called book model, which I have deleted a while ago, and I think I forgot to remove that from the dependencies here. Okay, all seems to be good. I'm going to run npm run db create once again. I will commit the changes which I did a while ago, so that you won't encounter the same error. My root username and my root password of the database. You can see it has created the database and it has created the schemas we need, the tables we need. And now I can run a similar command. Instead of create, I'm going to say db sample, so that it will insert the sample data. Once that step is done, I can go into my database command line tools and see um, if the uh, database is created by saying show databases. I can see now there's a new database called Makerspaces. I'm going to run SQL query to see if sample data is there. Before that, I need to move into that database. Use Makerspaces. Select all from users, for example. And you can see now I even have the sample data inserted. So that setup, um, we can now go into the web application and um, run it and see. So um, for that I'm going to use uh, a command ng build, so that I will build all of the Angular files into the Angular build output folder. So let's run ng build, and once that's completed, I can so what this particular command does is it will take all of my Angular source files, which are the client web application, and build it um, and deploy it into a folder called client underscore build. And then I'm going to start my node server uh, by running npm start. What npm start does is it will start a node server uh, and host my API as well as the Angular web application under that node server. So I'm waiting for the Angular build to happen. Until that, I'll make few changes on the README file. I have noted a few mistakes there. Um, One is when you run show databases, you need to have the semicolon like that. Same here as well. Okay, so you can see I do the edits to the README file here. So this is the file I am reading online on my GitHub repository. So Angular is still doing its job of compiling and building the things. Once it has built all of the artifacts, it will store it in a folder called client underscore build. So I don't see it still here. So we'll wait until it does its compilation, building, and optimizations. In this particular case, Angular will not optimize um, it for production, but it will optimize it for debugging purposes. If you want it to optimize it for production before you deploy this application onto production, you should run ng build dash dash prod. But we will learn about that later when we do the production deployment. It's taking some time. I can see my node npm install has finished without any errors, so that should be fine. So now I'm waiting for Angular to complete its building process. When we do the development, we will not use ng build um, because it's time consuming. We will start the application with ng start, which has runtime change injection, so that we don't have to build every time when we make a change onto Angular source files. It's almost done. It's emitting the output. Probably now I will see it. Yeah, here, client list. You don't have to do anything with these files. These are sort of the build files of Angular. Um, but why this is important is when we run the node server, it will serve index.html from client underscore dist. So without building Angular, if you run the node server, you will not be able to access application. Today my machine has gone quite wild. It seems it's not this time consuming usually. Okay, until it's done, maybe we can have a look at the source code structure a little bit. So you can see we have a folder called client app. This is where complete web application code, including the Angular app, resides. So you will see the Angular app here. Client dist is what is the output Angular is creating when we want to distribute this application into production. And client E2E is client-side tests, which we are not going to use right now. Node modules contains all of the node dependencies, which was fetched through npm install command. And server lib and server modules mainly contain the uh, backend server code, which is required to run the REST API to serve the data to the Angular views. Okay, this is done. So I have done the ng build, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into okay, I'm in the makerspace folder. I'm going to do npm start, which should start the node server. And meanwhile, okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to do some cleanups. You don't need to do this cleanup when you run the application for the first time. But what I'm going to do is we use Auth0 as our um, identity management platform. So I have some users created there. I just want to delete those users so that I will also have first time um, logged in user experience when I run this demo. What I'm going to do is basically to delete these users. Okay, because when you log in, your user will also not be there. So I just want to in this demo show you how it works when you don't have your user created already in your uh, user management system. Okay, so my users are deleted. Now I can see the app is started on port 88. So I'm going to move into local host port 88. So basically this is a URL to access the application. So you are moving into localhost port 88 home, and you are asking for location number 1. Location parameter specifies which makerspace you would like to access. Okay, I was logged in. I just logged out. Maybe I should use a incognito window to demonstrate. Okay, when you first launch the application, you will see um, this type of a window. Um, you will not be able to select the makerspaces. Uh, there's nothing much you can do. The menus are disabled and all of that. Um, so if we just inspect and go to console, and refresh your view once more, you can see our API is not really calling the backend because there's no token available. So we need to log in to access any of these resources. So I'm going to click on the login. So it will take me to the OAuth0 login um, window. So you can log in with your Google credentials, and Google is asking for the credentials. I'm going to say